Hello, everybody. My name is Ron Baker, and I'm really happy to be here sharing with you this evening. Before I jump into what I want to pass on, let me introduce myself briefly. For the last 25 years, I have been the founder of a school of self-mastery in New York City, and I've had the opportunity to work with thousands of people in many parts of the world, sharing a process of self-empowerment and healing and transformation. So the reason I'm here specifically is I was talking with Dallisa Hocking, and she said tons of her clients have been reaching out saying, please give us some perspectives and tools to understand what is happening in the world and how we can create more peace and calm and deal with the stress of all of it. And I said, I would love the chance to share some perspectives and tools that have helped my clients that I hope will help all of you as well. So let's jump in. It is a huge subject. And so I'm going to be as brief and simple as I can in order to give you a starting place of what you can do. I believe in being very practical, but I also believe in creating as much context as we can. What I find when my clients begin to explore with me is that none of us got a very thorough education about self growing up. How does the self evolve? How do we create more and more fulfilling lives? How do we create a truly connected sense of self-value? Without certain nurturing levels that we all needed, but we live on a planet that hasn't been educated in nurturing and championing self nearly as fully as we need. So without that, we end up in what I call the comfort zone, not very comfortable, the comfort zone of whatever our survival choices have been. So let me explain a little bit how that works and how that translates into these huge conflicts that we're seeing in the world. If I don't get championed and nurtured in all the ways that I needed as a child, I personalize all those limitations. That is what I've learned as I've educated myself for all these years. We personalize the limits of whatever the experience was. So for instance, I grew up in a home where my father literally never said a single thing to me, not one conversation that I can remember. And I personalized that, and it equaled, I must not have any real value or worth as an individual. And so I began to protect and defend and squash my awakening individuality in order to compensate for what was missing. Everybody I've taught has their own version of those initial challenges, but even within our individuality, we all share certain stages of development. We all share certain needs, and we have specific nurturing needs which equal feeling safe and connected as a starting place. When we don't feel truly safe, not just physically, but emotionally and in every other way, we learn to compensate and defend, and we figure out the best we can as at the wise old age of 5, 6, and 7 years old. Who do I have to be? What do I have to do? How do I have to avoid? What is acceptable and lovable to my parents' comfort zones, and what is not? All kinds of things that, in a very simple, brief way, we end up protecting and defending in the comfort zone, surviving our lives, versus hearing, did you know that you are a sacred individual on a soul journey? And we are here as your initial starting place, and we can't wait to nurture and champion you and teach you how to claim layer by layer by layer of yourself, and to teach you how to value yourself, how to nurture yourself based on what we're modeling. If we didn't get that, then we become very protected and defended, and we do our best to survive our lives. And we end up squashing tons of feelings and not knowing what to do with them. So the thing I shared second about being sacred individuals on soul journeys is the deeper truth, but it's way too big a subject to jump in a short time. However, we still need to learn how to connect and nurture and value self. The great news, it's never too late. I teach clients who are in their 70s, who are learning and growing and like, wow, I can't believe it took me this long to get such a beautiful education and a set of tools that allow me to build this trust of my own value as a unique individual. This is entirely possible. But when we don't get that and we get stuck in, I don't know what to do within these limitations, and I have to be seen a certain way, and I have to avoid revealing my deeper authentic self because it didn't feel safe early on, we end up in all this inner conflict of self, and we put on the best mask we know how. But when someone comes along and triggers the edge of our comfort zone, we go into defense, and we control, and we act out, and we get rid of, and we go into our own inner war, and we go into our own conflicts with others. What we need to understand is that all of that can be perfect on a soul journey, because our lives are actually structured with the opportunity of challenges. What did he just say? The opportunity of challenges. Let's just make it simple from the beginning. When you're a little child, you have to learn so many skills. You have to learn how to feed yourself and dress yourself and how to tie your shoe and simple things. It starts out rather simply in some ways. The challenge of learning how to hold the spoon, how to put the laces together into the bow that is a shoe prepared to go out in the day. These are challenges. And then it becomes more evolved. You get to first grade and you have the challenges of learning how to read and do math, and the challenge of learning how to be away from home and deal with other people and communicate. Everything in our lives is introduced through the opportunity of challenges. But if nobody ever told us that our challenges are opportunities to claim more and more of our potential, the challenge to learn how to connect to our feelings and how to communicate our feelings, how to recognize our nurturing needs and how to communicate our nurturing needs, and how to evolve into adult relationships that nurture and support one another, while every individual learns to value their individual awakening journey. This is not the education that anyone I've ever taught received, but thank goodness it's never too late to learn how to embrace challenges, how to understand them, rather than me personalizing my father never saying a thing to me. It did not equal I was unworthy. It equaled he had no idea how to connect and communicate and share and empower and educate me. His father died when he was quite young, and he just never learned what healthy fathering might include. The great news is I opened to deeper truths and got the education that I needed and have evolved that into a particular process over these 25 years. I can see the deeper truth, and I don't have to go through my life fighting my unworthiness. Why do I point all of this out? The world is facing more and more accelerated challenges and fighting and struggling and opposing anyone that they think is threatening to them in some way. We have not learned how to go to deeper truths like the one I shared about my father to understand that we're not nearly so threatened, that there is so much opportunity to nurture, starting with self. We must build it here in order to be able to practice it with one another. When we practice self-nurturing, and we need guidance and tools, and that's what many of us have dedicated our lives to teaching others to do. So, for instance, Dallisa offers whatever her tools are. I offer whatever mine are. You have the opportunity to come and explore with others to gain the tools and find out what works well for you to build a calmer, less stressful approach, not being stuck like a wounded child who doesn't know that more is possible, but to get the education and the nurturing tools. I hope all of that makes sense as a concept. When we look at the world and the big challenges, like, for instance, the most recent eruption of war between Israel and Palestine, rather than going into the details and the history of those two groups, let's just look at the universality of it all. Any bigger collective conflict comes out of individual conflicts. I have an inner war going on with myself and my wounding and my lack of education about how to nurture and value. I can't bring that to you in a healthy way. And so we come together in smaller conflicts that build up into group conflicts, all because we don't understand the sacredness of being on soul journeys and how to value and nurture. I'm going to reiterate it over and over, but let's make it practical. How have you been at connecting to yourself physically and emotionally? Let's see. Let's give you a litmus test. No worry, there's no judgment to whatever you discover, but it is crucial that we all look and discover what our habitual has been and what we can do to enhance that. So I'm going to say a word, and do not change a single thing that you're already doing, and see what you discover about how connected you are to yourself. The word is breath. Don't change a thing. Just notice your breath. Are you breathing full, flowing breaths, or is it a shallow breath? I've been teaching this for so long. I have never discovered anyone that said, I think I'm breathing as fully and freely as I could. Most people say it's actually really shallow and what I call survival breathing. Now, how can my body feel safe and calm and trusting if I'm not calming it and connecting and feeding it the energy and oxygen that every cell needs? Believe it or not, every breath you take is a clear message to your nervous system. How fully you breathe in says, this is how much I deserve to receive, how safe I am to receive. So if I'm only breathing in just enough to survive, that's the message I'm giving myself. The out breath says, how safe am I to assert and share who I am on the inside. Now take what you consider to be a proactive in-breath through the nose, out-breath through the mouth. Jump in, play. Most people that I teach end up saying, sure, I'm going to do this. And then they go, something like that. The in-breath goes up here in the chest. I gave my hands the motion because I'm wearing a dark color and it's hard to see the movement of my body. So most people breathe in fully into the chest and not into the lower body. My lower body needs to feel safe and calm as well. My lower body is where I've stored all that initial child stuff that says I'm unworthy because my father didn't ever speak to me. So if I, as an adult, don't show up and connect all the way into my body, I'm not even accessing that part of my body to nurture it and feed it and give it what it needs. So the in-breath, from the time we're a little baby in a crib lying on our back, the stomach is the only thing that actually moves. The belly goes up and down because that is the natural breathing that we do before we learn to defend. So we want to breathe into that lower belly and have it fill up like a balloon. And then the out breath. If I say do a proactive out breath and people go, it seems a little careful, right? So now do this breath, filling up the lower body, and then not all the time. This is when you're doing your exercises to build your scope, just like you go to the gym and you lift to build the muscle. You don't walk around all day doing this. You have your time for the gym. Now, this is your 1 or 2 minutes a day to breathe and connect and build a flow and a connection to you. So, for instance, calm, stillness. It's a 3-part breath. In, out, calm. It is so important that we begin to move the energy that is typically defended, and we're used to it, so we don't even pay attention. But it gave you a litmus test for your shallow breathing rather than this full proactive breathing. So the starting place for all of us, if we want more calm, less stress, more centering, is breathing through the body and taking the time to be still as the third part of the breath. We have to teach our nervous system that's outside my comfort zone. So the next piece is what I call an adult reality check. Are you safe? We must start out recognizing safety. Most people never take the time to ask such a question. Am I safe? So I take the breath. And now I go, in this moment that I'm in right now, in the room that I'm in right now, is there any threat happening to my well-being, physically or emotionally? No. I feel safe. Breathe into that experience. Start to recognize many times during the day, okay, there's a lot of things going on in the world, but right now, where I am, in the world where I am I safe in this moment? We are safe so much more often in many, many, many parts of the world than we have ever taken the time to land, acknowledge, and learn to trust. Breathing, acknowledgement of safety, which is the first of the nurturing needs. I need to feel safe. So start to recognize in this moment with me as I'm sharing these things, safe, seen, supported, encouraged, educated, compassion for wherever you happen to be in your learning curve. These are some of the things we needed from the time we were little kids, but we have challenges that point out where the deficits are, and that is attempting to bring our attention to the things we need to learn. So consider embracing your individual challenges as an opportunity to seek solutions and to nurture whatever it is, to develop a capacity to respond in a calmer, empowered way. Breathe, to release the pressure cooker versus holding on to it and letting it build up so that anxiety results. No, breathing and then recognizing the safety of this moment. Yes, there's a conflict going on in many parts of the world. Let's just say the Ukraine and Russia, and then there's Israel and Palestine. There have been conflicts happening on large scale and Lord knows on individual scale every day of our lives. However, in order to be able to show up and play our part in building peace and calm and nurturing responsiveness, we have to build it here. And we have been safer way more often than most of us have ever claimed and landed in experientially, feeling what it feels like to have safety, calm, in charge of self, more and more. This is just an introduction, but it is so important that we have a starting place. The good news, you have people like Dallisa, people like me, and others who have dedicated our lives to teaching you step by step by step how to add layer after layer of a much more empowered, calm evolution into fulfillment, creating lives that get better and better and better. Embrace those challenges, nurture those challenges, and show up for you. That is what I want to share tonight. Yes, there are conflicts in the world, but if we all resist and go into contraction and opposing it, even though it's not even happening for most of us right here, at least at the moment in the United States as one example, but in plenty of places in the world, let's hold the resonance of compassion for what challenges others are facing. Super important to send compassion, not fear and anxiety. We put our energy out into the world based on what we're choosing. And so, my goodness, if we come together and remind each other that nurturing reciprocal support is possible, it makes the hugest difference. I watch it with my community of people all the time. So this is all I'm going to share for this evening. Some practical tools, some context for understanding, show up for you. And if you need anything, you can reach me at ronbaker.net. You can reach Dallisa in all the ways. If you like what was shared here it does help to encourage others when you like the video or when you subscribe to this particular YouTube channel. So I wish you all the best. I hold a space for you facing your challenges, resolving your challenges, building a trust in much more of your capacity. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me. And I hope to get to share more of the journey. All for now.